Welcome to the podcast of CreateConnectConvert.co, a community of empowered businesswomen by empowered businesswomen. Let's dig in. Welcome back to Create, Connect, Convert, the podcast that helps entrepreneurial women really gain in more clarity, creativity, and connect with the people that they're meant to serve. So I'm Laura Templeton, your host for today. And with me, I have Regina, Garay, and Kristy, Crippen. And ladies, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself. So Regina, why don't you go and kick us off with your introduction?
Thank you, Laura. My name is Regina Garay. The name of my business is Right Brain Loves Left. I am a digital marketing manager and educator, and I work with small businesses and nonprofits, and primarily the interior design and construction industry. And I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Kristy, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I am Kristy Crippen. I'm the founder of Collaborative Partners Administrative Services, and I am your intuitive thought partner and business processes strategist. I am thrilled to be here with everyone, and I work with hardworking entrepreneurs to help take them from overwhelmed to feeling overjoyed in their business.
Oh my goodness, I love that introduction, Kristy.
I
am so excited to be here. Can you guys tell my energy is out through the roof right now? So I'm Laura Templeton with 30 Second Success. I'm a speaker, author, and your business and brand strategist, helping business owners and professionals find that message that resonates with who they are and resonates with their audience in a way that creates more opportunities, drives more growth, and helps you scale your business. So thank you so much for being here with us today. I am excited about jumping into today's topic, which is networking by design, how your brand message shapes the rooms you walk into. And this obviously is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart, especially having launched my business around 30-second messages, and which all started with networking, right? My story really starts with helping people overcome that 30-second message that keeps you down, right? Or keeps you, sometimes even keeps you from going to networking events. Real quick story. I had a client who used to run into the ladies' room every time it was time to do 30-second messages because she was so petrified of standing up in front of people and sharing her message. And yet she had a very powerful message because she was actually trying to gain more attention for the nonprofit that she worked for. So once we worked on her 30-second message, it just changed everything for her. People actually started welcoming her to the meetings. She had been coming for over a year. She didn't even realize she was there because she wasn't sharing her message. She would hide in the ladies' room, and then as soon as the meetings were over, she'd disappear, right? So she was like, I'm out, right? So today we're going to be talking a little bit about how your message really helps you gain the clarity, gain the confidence, and connect with the people in the room. So let's talk about how your brand message influences the kind of people and opportunities you attract within your network. What are some of the ways, how does your message really attract the people that you are networking with?
I think it helps if and I can totally relate to your client that because it's the worst to stand up in front of people and just say something because you don't know whether you're being too salesy. You don't know if they're like, who cares? Who needs that business? That kind of thing. All of these self-defeating thoughts are running through your mind. But you really don't know who needs you out there, and saying that exactly, you don't know who needs you. That's the number one thing in your message, I think, where you need to know who you are helping, and focusing on pain points that they have. To me is, you can say, hi, I'm this person, when you're in a room full of small business people. But if you're like, this is what have you ever gone through this? Do you experience this? Then this is something that I do. At least I think messages ideally include that.
I think that's really powerful that you said that. And that is one of the things that we talk about a lot in, creating that 30-second message. But really, how does your message influence the people in the room? What does it do for you? in those situations. So, Kristy, what are your thoughts on that? How does your message influence the people in the room to respond in a certain way?
Mm. When when you are crystal clear about who you are, how you show up powerfully every day, who your ideal client is, and you communicate that from deep within yourself, and you're putting that energy out into the room, you show up in a different way. If you are feeling, and Laura, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here because of the work that you do, but I know with how you've helped me tremendously over the years. I, when I show up now, it's, shoulders back, head held high. I speak in a different way. I enunciate in a different way. My energy is calm and grounded. I feel like I can think through what I'm going to say. And then that has me present in a different way. And then I feel like because I am emitting relaxed energy, then the people who are listening are going to feel relaxed. They're going to feel that relaxed energy emitting from me, and then they're going to be relaxed, and then they're going to just really dial into what it is I have to say. And you can be in an industry or offer services that are nearly identical to somebody else, but it's your energy and the way in which you share what you do that will resonate with somebody else. If somebody is looking for similar services to what I have and they go and they choose somebody else, I'm a firm believer. I celebrate that you're getting the help for yourself that you need. I really look at it as the energetic connection. Who am I meant to work with?
I see. So what you're saying is that before you even work on your message, obviously you need to work on that. You need to work on how you show up and work on the energy that you have and put forth before you even formulate that message. So you got to work on that first and then your message.
For me, that's what helps.
Okay.
Because if I've never heard somebody speak before, and the way in which they share that information, it you can pick up on those subtle cues if somebody is saying it from a relaxed perspective, and that's not to diminish somebody if they're nervous, because keep showing up for yourself and keep practicing and keep immersing yourself in that process and really become that person. But it just lands differently for me when I hear somebody who speaks it in almost an effortless way. I feel like, oh, it's like woven into the fabric of their being.
Mhm. I love that. So really, it's very powerful to embrace and embody your 30-second message, right? I think there's something really subtle about when your belief shifts and you really believe in what you're sharing.
Yeah.
Right. Because that kind of leads me to my next question. What are some of the practical ways to communicate your brand message with clarity in your 30-second introduction without sounding rehearsed? Right. And I think that a lot of people really are afraid to sound scripted. And even though I write 30-second commercials for people, it's more about getting them comfortable with that message so that then they can be playful and not sound rehearsed. So, what are some of the ways, Kristy, you just touched on, gaining that confidence, practicing? What are some of the other ways that you feel, really helps to bring that confidence to overcome that fear of sounding scripted or rehearsed?
For me, what really helps is having the two of you in my life, and I trust so deeply each of your opinions. And how many times have I come to you both and said, so here's what I'm doing. I feel really, really secure here. I feel like I've got this piece mapped out, but over here, here's what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it, or I don't know how to express it. Do you have any suggestions? Is there feedback you could share with me? And then I take that feedback to heart, and it really helps me I really run that through my brain and think, okay, let's map this out again based upon what I've just gotten from the two of you. And as I run it through on my own, I listen to how it resonates within me. Does this feel comfortable saying it? And then I love to, like I said, share it with other people to say, is what I'm saying making sense? What are you getting from this when you hear this?
That's a great practice to get into, is to bounce ideas and your 30-second message off somebody that you trust, somebody that's willing to give you the good, honest feedback. And people that know you. One of the things that I recommend to a lot of my clients is to have that accountability partner that knows you deeply and understands who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, and periodically asking them to help you practice your message so that it feels good and that it makes sense.
I had a friend of mine, a peer, and we were talking about our messages, and she said, I came up with a message that helps people think about not only what I do, but also who they can refer to me. And what she said is that somebody's like, oh, and so they're at a party or whatever it is. Oh, so what is it that you do? And so she says, do you know any people in XXX fields? And they're like, yes, I do. And she's like, I help get them promoted. And, you know,
Oh, I love
that follow up, that is like that. So she says that helps, you know, explain exactly what I do in as little words as possible. And not only that, that they're thinking about, oh, so I can refer this person to you to help them get ahead in their industry. So, you can use something like that as well, to go forward with. So there's different ways that you could do the message. It's not just this 30-second, and it is because that I help get them promoted. That is the clincher. That is that 30-second in that microcosm.
So that's a slightly different way of introducing yourself. Like, so you have that 30-second message that we use when we do everybody goes around the room and presents themselves, and you have that message that follows a specific formula that I teach in my book, 30-Second Success, Ditch the Pitch and Start Connecting. And then the other thing is that one-on-one introduction, right? They're slightly different. Right. When somebody says to you, you've probably already shaken hands and said, oh, I'm Laura Templeton with 30-Second Success, or I'm Regina Garay with Right Brain Loves Left, or Kristy Crippen with your collaborative partners. When you are introducing someone face to face, it's slightly different from an actual 30-second message where everybody gets their turn, right? So I love what you're saying, Regina, about asking the question. That's one of the things that I teach a lot of my clients. I teach it in my book, 30-Second Success, Ditch the Pitch and Start Connecting. So there, I said it twice, right? This is what this book is all about. If you ask a question, what happens when you ask a question, especially if it's who do you know, right? Or do you know anyone? You're causing them to either self-select themselves, right? Yeah, me, right? Or yes, I know someone. Like, you get them to think outside the room. And that is a golden ticket to networking. You can get the people in the room to think beyond the room, think outside the room. Who do I know? Who do I know? Who do I know? And then you teach them how to share what you do. You are expanding your network exponentially by the number of people that are in the room, right? Because there may be 5 people in the room, but 5 people know at least 5 more people. So 5 times 5 is 25. So you've just expanded your reach that much broader by educating them with a simple question. Right? Because now they know somebody who helps people get promoted. Right?
And it never dawned on the conversation one-on-one is different than the 30-second pitch. Because I always thought if somebody asks you what you do, just bring out your 30-second pitch. But you're saying it can be altered and
yes,
to be more organic and natural, because one is meant to be said in a room and one is meant for one-on-one conversations. Interesting.
Yes, they are definitely different. And that's one of the things, like the formula that I teach my clients is when you're doing your 30-second message, and here's, that, and I teach it, this is what I teach from stage and everything else, is always remember your 30-second message when you are, in front of a room. It's, what's the pain or problem, what's the pain or problem that your ideal client struggles with? How do you solve it? What's your call to action? And then your name and your company. right? That's that simple formula that you can follow. It works really well. You can start it with a question, you can start it with a statement, or you can start it with a story. That's this, storytelling hands down is one of the best ways to get people to go, oh,
Yeah.
that's what she does. Right.
Yeah.
I told you guys a story before about a woman who used to hide in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Once I was able to help her, she no longer hid in the bathroom. And all of a sudden, people started welcoming her to the group because they hadn't realized she was already part of the group.
And
Right.
her hiding in the bathroom, I mean, who can't relate to that in terms of how we feel about networking in front of a huge
Exactly.
group of people? And then
Right.
the transformation is something we all want for ourselves, all small business owners.
Well, that's just like the Small Business Expo. One of the biggest things that they struggle with, and they shared this with me, is that they have these amazing networking events at the Small Business Expo. And for the thousands and thousands of people that register for the Small Business Expo, they only get a handful of people to do the networking events. But think of all the other small business owners that are there, and you're missing opportunities by not going to the networking events. And they say most of the people when they surveyed it, they were just like really uncomfortable with networking. So love connecting with people. So tell me a little bit, what are your thoughts on how you shift your networking strategy when your brand evolves? Because we know as we grow as business owners, our brands really start to take on an evolution, and all of a sudden our messages start to change. How do you shift your networking strategy when that starts to happen?
I think, we all know the shifts that we're making in our own business. We're the ones making them. So that includes, is this going to target a new audience? What pain points do they have? Because I know pain points is in your formula, how that works, and start developing that as you're segueing into your new products or your new services or any kind of new branding. And, I always think of it as, when you're, let's say, I'm just gonna, you're trying, I was trying to get less sugar in my coffee, so every week I lessened it by just a little bit. So until at the end of a month, I was drinking the one with the less coffee with like no taste difference. When you're doing that with your messages, make sure that you weave in, because you don't want to like go cold turkey and hey, all of a sudden I'm a different business. Weave in some of that old business into the new one, then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and all of a sudden you've got a smooth handoff to all your new services and products. That's kind of what I would do in
I
my.
like it. So instead of going cold turkey and just all of a sudden, wait, what's she doing now? Right. I've actually had people say that to me about other people in networking groups. Like, I thought she did this, but now she's doing this. I'm so confused, right? You do confuse your audience when you make a sudden switch. That's great. That's a great point, Regina. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, because if you make that switch, all of a sudden it may not be true, but it's that subtle shift in your mind where you're like, that's maybe not a good business person if she's switching things. It's like she's dropping hot potatoes if something doesn't work. It's not a longevity thing. How long is this next iteration going to last? You want to make sure that you project longevity in your business, even if you're switching services and products.
Yeah. So, and I know this is something that you're going through right now, Kristy, with your brand literally, and we call it leveling up, right? Where you start to get to a point in your business where you start to really recognize, oh, there's this deeper work that I'm doing. So how do you mesh that with the work that you're already known for?
I think it's important to sit down and look at the evolution of your business. When you started your business, what was the focus? Really get to the heart of it. And then where are you right now? And then, so how has it slowly and steadily evolved since the origin to the present day? And I would even say put those little timeline markers on there. Um, because one simple statement you can make is, you've known me for X. And now I'm excited to share with you that I'm offering a companion service that perfectly blends with my existing foundational services that I offer. And here's how it supports the work I'm already doing. I look at it like a tapestry, and you're now weaving a new thread into that tapestry. And how do you have it be securely woven and tight with all of the other fibers? I look at how have I been showing up, what have I been saying, and then at the same time, how have my services evolved? So how does my languaging change? How does my energy change? How, what are the kinds of things that I was saying before, and what am I going to be saying now? What am I gently saying goodbye to? And what am I welcoming a seat at this table of mine? And being really jazzed and excited about it. I started my business as a virtual assistant, and because of some really tough things that were going on in my personal life at the time, I was weaving in all of these other services around productivity, time management, and organization without even realizing it. And so I'm working with my clients in that way without even realizing it because I was so focused on the task of and being a VA. And then my business evolved to the point where I really started to wanted to work more in the collaborative side, the coming, our heads coming together and doing all that work with my clients in that way. So I think it's about really celebrating the achievements and the growth that you've had. And then now, how do I put that into words? And again, like what I was saying before, I go back to how do you see me in terms of how I've changed? Like go back to your trusted resources and say, here's what I'm seeing. What do you see? Because people, your trusted go-to circle, they can give you such valuable insight that maybe you can't see yourself because you're too close to the flame.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that because I know that is something that you are going through right now personally. And it's kind of like seeing you peel back the layers and having those aha moments have been so amazing to experience with you.
Thank you.
So I love that. And I know, Regina, you've gone through that not too long ago where you determined that you were going to really identify who your ideal client is, and that's who you were going to create all of your marketing for, all of your products for, and really focus on that design industry, right? And I think that has been monumental for you in how you think, how you approach things, how you speak, how you show up for your network. Am I right in that?
Yes, because I used to target all small businesses. That was so broad, and a lot of the experience that I have just doesn't track with all small businesses. Then I narrowed it down to creative small businesses. That was still too broad because I was attracting creative businesses that I didn't know all the tools and resources in that particular industry to help them. Then I narrowed it down to the design and construction industry. That's when it really clicked because I help tradespeople, I help organizations, I help product lines. This is where all my expertise is in, and I can help you. Now, in all of this, I have still helped other small businesses and other nonprofits. So I know knowing my boundaries is very important. And that's where you teach. Because if you start too broad, I mean, you're never going to get your message whittled down to where it's really effective and you find those people who truly need you and that you can truly help in return. It's
Yeah.
that good relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the beautiful things that even just, and I want to say this because I know we're almost out of time, is I think it's so important to really have a deep understanding of who your ideal client is and where those clients are showing up, right?
Mhm.
We need to be networking in a way that's building relationships, really connecting with the right people, either A, that are our ideal clients and need our services, or B, who know our ideal clients and are willing to refer us, right? So when we take a hard look at our networking and where we're networking and how we're networking and what our message is, it really needs to focus on the building relationships. How are you connecting on a deep emotional level with your audience, with the people in the room? How is your message translating in a way that's easy for them to remember and to refer you? And that's really what's powerful about networking. When we start to network in a way that builds relationships, we become memorable, we show up consistently, we give, right? When we are able to give back and really support the people in the room, they want to do the same thing for us. And I think that's really powerful. So ladies, I am so happy that we had this conversation. I'm really passionate about networking and helping people connect with other people, and just making sure that people understand the power of networking, and that's part of my message. So I thank you. I love this conversation. We could keep on talking, but yeah, we could keep on talking about networking for days. But it's just to reiterate, we talked about the importance of clarity, right? Being clear on your message, being clear on who your ideal client is. Of course, we always talk about that, especially that's kind of our thing. Have to understand your client, what they need to hear from you. And that's what's powerful, what your audience, what your network needs to hear from you. And then, find those trusted advisors that'll help you really refine your message so it is on point with who you are and who you serve, right? And stop trying to make, you got to simplify it, right? When we make our message messy, people don't understand what it is. So make sure that it's clear, it's concise, it really speaks to who you serve and how you serve them. That's really important. And there are two different types of messages. There's that 30-second message, and then there's that face-to-face message. They are slightly different, and they are both equally important. And one, it's just kind of like a little bit of a twist on what from one to the other. So make sure that you understand how to introduce yourself when you are one-on-one with someone. And then review and evaluate, right? It's that evolution happens, right? Evolution happens in everyone's business. If your message is still the same message you said 5 years ago, I can guarantee it no longer speaks to what you do and who you serve and how you serve them.
Yep.
Because every business evolves. So make sure that you are constantly reviewing your 30-second message. Make sure that it's still on point. Make sure that you're following the formula. And until next time, remember to always be creating, always be connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality. And that's a wrap for today's episode of CreateConnectConvert.co. We hope you're feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to make your next bold move. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. Head over to CreateConnectConvert.co to download our latest resources, sign up for our upcoming events, or hop on the wait list for our exclusive mastermind community. There's a seat at the table waiting just for you. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to click like and subscribe. We'll see you back here next week to dive into another game-changing conversation. And here's a little something to carry you until then. Keep creating, keep connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality.